Hey guys, all right, so in case you're not familiar with the critter gun, this is about a $35, $40, $45 item you can buy on Amazon. We've got them in our Amazon store. And this is by far the most simple spray gun that I have ever seen. Now, I'm not a spray guy, and this thing really, I stayed away from spray guns for decades. When I found this thing, it's one of you guys actually sent this idea to me. When I found this thing, it was like a dream come true. This is truly a game changer. At least it was for me, and I know for some of you it probably was. This is a simple device. This is just water. Your medium is in here. It's pulled up this tube by the fact that the air blows from a compressor, blows across here, and it pulls that out. And so I just keep each individual stuff that I want to spray, I keep them in jars, and all I do is just take this from here, put it in there, and then after I'm done spraying it, being as this is water-based, then I take it back here, put it on here, spray it for 30 to 60 seconds, and boom, set it on the shelf, done. No disassembling, all different kinds of stuff. Anyway, so let's show you how this thing actually works. Do a little demo. A critter gun, I believe, comes with the small jar. That's okay, but I really like the big jars, so you can I just buy these a dozen at a time from Walmart. And then I put an extender that I'll show you when we go inside. I'll show you the extender that I put on the tube. All right, so let's go do some spray. Okay, so I've just got a piece of scrap material here that I want to show you how this thing sprays. Now, your air pressure will depend on where you're at, what you're spraying. This is Czar, and I've thinned it a little bit, 10 to 20%. So I go somewhere between 50 and 75 pounds. I find spraying early in the morning, at least here in Arizona, works best for me. So all you're doing is you're pulling the trigger, and as that air shoots across this, it pulls that material out of there, and it's just that simple. That's it. Then what I do is I'll swap these jars like I talked about before, put the water back on here, spray it for about 30 seconds, boom, then you're done. That's it. It's so user-friendly. I absolutely am in love with this product, and I've been using it for years now. But there are some things that I've learned that might help you in the area of maintenance. So let's go inside, and I'll kind of go through some stuff. All right, you guys, let's get into this. So I want to go through several different aspects about this critter gun. Again, I love it. It's super simple, but there are some stuff that I get questions on all the time. So the first question I get is, what can I spray through this thing? So this thing, when it was designed, was really designed to spray adhesive, which is, as you guys know, man, that's super thick. So you can spray anything from thick to thin materials in here. Here are just a few examples of what we have sprayed. This is a latex paint that is pretty thick. And again, you have to thin it based on how it's spraying for you, and that might have to do with the humidity or the weather where you're at and your air pressure. The Kills 2, we've sprayed this stuff in here. Most of what we spray, the Czar water-based polyurethane, the Helmsman, either oil-based or water-based. I've done both. They both spray really good out of here. Again, you need to practice with it, figure out where your air pressure needs to be. So those are the kinds of materials that you can spray. Number 2 question I get all the time is, what compressor should I use? So a lot of you, and I have had those little, what they call the pancake compressors, and while those will spray it for a very small piece, if you have anything where you're spraying very much, that thing will just keep going and going and going because the tank is so small. I burnt up at least 2 of those before I realized that just wasn't going to work for me. So I would go something bigger than the pancake. Now they have what they call the hot dog compressor, which is basically shaped like a hot dog. It's a very small kind of roll around compressor. I think one of those, probably if you're not doing big huge jobs, one of those would be fine. I have a big stand-up 22 gallon, I think, stand-up, and that is absolutely ideal for me, and I can continuously spray pretty much for whatever size job that I want to do. Now, as far as maintenance goes, I want to get this stuff out of the way. As far as maintenance goes, one of the things that you definitely want to do whatever it is that you are spraying, it's a good idea to get a pack of these filters and always filter before you spray, because you never can tell when there might be clumps and stuff down in the bottom of the jar. Let's get into the actual maintenance on this thing. Now I've just got paper laid down here, but I got plastic underneath that's going to protect my bench. Now this is, I talked earlier about the extension. This is literally just a straw. What I do is I just want that thing to be able to get down to the bottom of that jar, so you can slide that wherever you need it to be. And I'm going to rebuild this thing with a little critter rebuild kit. But you can see in that rebuild kit, and this is about 15 bucks, guys. It's a good idea to grab one of these even before you need it. See that little gasket in there? That's the one that comes with it, and it works great, but it doesn't work as good as these. This is a separate product, and these are silicone lids for your mason jars, and these things work terrific. Again, in our Amazon store, and there's I think a pack of 10 in here, and a pack of 10 lasts me about 3 or 4 years. So now let's go ahead and put this this rebuild kit on. So what we need to do is we need to get these off of here. So what I have found, and it took me a while to figure this out, you have to take this, you can see this has got gunk all over it. It's actually left over. So because this is a spring in there, and I'm compressing that spring, got to get that spring all the way compressed. Now I think this should be able to come off. But if you don't do this in the right sequence, and it's been a while since I've done it, but if you don't do this in the right sequence, oh, look at that. Well, there you go. My tip was broke off there anyway. That was kind of an ad lib. I didn't think that was going to happen. But this should screw down to the point where that should come all the way off. There. All right, so now that this piece is off, now we got to take this piece off. This takes the 8mm wrench, and if it's tight, then use your wrench. Don't use pliers on these things. These are just brass, so they will get really messed up if you try to use pliers. So you can see that there's a ring or a spring here, and we're going to replace that as well. So the spring keeps the tension on this thing and allows you and keeps it in place when you adjust this up and down. Now this tube is threaded at the top, so you use your 10mm wrench and loosen up that nut right there, and then this. Sometimes these are tight, so you might have to use a pair of pliers just to loosen them up a little bit. That's my theory anyway. I'm still learning about this thing all the time too. So let's again clean that thing up. First thing we're going to do is put our tube in there. We could put a little oil on it if you wanted to. I'm going to put it up. Let's see. You see there's still a few threads there. The set nut for that, so it stays in place once you tighten this down. Let's try to put this in. So as you take these apart, then putting them back together, put this one in first. Take, compress this all the way in, then take this off, and then reverse the thing, put this back in here, and then reassemble this part. So once that's in place, and I know that's about right, now what I want to do is I want to tighten this thing up here. I'm just going to hold on to that tube slightly and snug that down just a little bit. That locks that thing in place. Now this will adjust up and down. This will adjust in and out. What you're looking for is the top of this to be right at the center of this hole. And whether how close this needs to be to that nozzle, that kind of is adjustable. I think that was adjustable based on the thickness of the material that you're spraying. But again, it's pretty easy to make those kinds of adjustments. You have to just play around with it, play with the adjustments and all that kind of thing. But that's pretty there. I was thinking that it actually included this piece too, but it didn't. It included this, well, you saw what it included. But yeah, it's pretty much that simple, guys. It takes a little playing around with, but it's not super difficult. Not like you have to have an engineering degree to figure this thing out, because if I can figure it out, definitely you can figure this out. I think that's about it, guys. Again, one of the best tools in my shop. If you're doing signs, you really need to put some kind of finish on them. And if you can get by with just spray can finish, great, that's fine. But man, the investment in this thing for what you can do with it, especially if you're doing big jobs, ranch signs, tabletops, stuff like that, definitely is the way to go, at least for me. Now I know one specific YouTuber that uses these things all the time, and she doesn't bother rebuilding these things. She really kind of treats them as throwaways. She just buys another one at 35 bucks and she doesn't have to deal with all this. But I kind of like the mechanical understanding, the tool. So, you know, but that's your call. I think 15 bucks for a rebuild. This thing should be good for another 3 or 4 years, spraying with it all the time. So anyway, guys, I hope this is helpful. I hope this is worth your time watching. We so appreciate you watching. If you have any questions on this or anything else, you know how to get a hold of me, Eric@makeawoodsign.com. If you have questions for Ryan, Ryan@makeawoodsign.com. Vicky is Vicky@makeawoodsign.com. And again, these supplies and stuff here, many of these are in our Amazon store. Regular sign carving supplies are at our website, makeawoodsign.com. We so appreciate all the support, guys. We love you. We'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.